consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and Planning in its report on the vetting of the nominee for appointment as Auditor General, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, July 15, 2020, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 229, Clause 1 of the Constitution, Section 11, Subsection 8 of the Public Audit Act of 2015, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Ms. Nancy Janet Kabui Gathungu as the Auditor General. Honorable Mbadi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I support this motion on the approval of this nominee for the office of the Auditor General, I just want to underscore again, as my colleagues have said, that this is a very important office. And I think as a country, we stand indicted that we could have a system that allows this office to remain vacant for all these months. This is something that we seriously need to fix, because there is no way you can guarantee accountability in the usage of public resources without the Office of the Auditor General having an office holder, not leave alone even substantive. We have not been having even anyone in acting capacity, Mr. Speaker, one who could sign the audit reports. So, Mr. Speaker, we must have a system which will guarantee that before the Auditor General leaves office at the end of his 8th-year term or her 8th-year term, that someone is already designated as Auditor General in waiting, so that immediately that person can even take over 3 or 6 months before the Auditor General leaves office. So as a country, this is something that we all stand indicted, and especially legislators, those of us who make laws. So this is something that we must fix. I'm happy that at least we have made progress so far to this date. And Mr. Speaker, Kenyans are aware that almost all the cases of corruption that have been unearthed in this country have been as a result of the report of the Auditor General. And therefore, we expect Janet, as she occupies this office, if she will be approved this afternoon and subsequently appointed by the President, that she's not going to let Kenyans down. This is going to be the first female occupant of this office, and she has a huge task ahead of her. This office has actually not disappointed this country. Even the predecessor to Ouko, the immediate Auditor General, did a fantastic job, Mr. Speaker, at a difficult time in the history of this country. We all know that during the one-party rule, and even the early times of multi-party politics, it was very difficult to question the executive. But we had an Auditor General, that time the position was Controller and Auditor General, who could hold his ground and bring audit reports that would indict the executive. And I think that is something to admire. And it was carried forward to the first Auditor General under the 2010 Constitution, Edward Ouko, who also exhibited very strong signs of a professional and came up with professionalism to that office. Therefore, Janet Gathungu has her job cut out for her to prove that she's either going to carry forward with the same competence that Kenyans have had in the previous 2 occupants, at least the ones I can remember, or she's even going to do better. So, Mr. Speaker, I must disclose that Janet, while she was in her final year at the business school, the University of Nairobi, I was also in my first year. She was, I think, in the class of Moses Kuria. And so in terms of academic qualification, I agree and I can support that she has what it takes to occupy the position of the Auditor General, together with other professional qualifications that have been enumerated by the chair of the committee. and she even has master's degree in strategic management and pursuing her PhD. But Mr. Speaker, there are a few things that have to be dealt with. First is the process. And this is something that we cannot shy away from talking about. You cannot use Public Service Commission to recruit the Auditor General. I find it difficult to accept that that is a process that would stand the test of times. Why do I say so? This is a very important office. We must find a better way, a more independent way of recruiting Auditor General of a country. Mr. Speaker, to me, this office is more important than any other independent office that we can talk about in this country. So just using the Public Service Commission, and then they make recommendation to the President, who then nominates and finally appoints with the approval of Parliament, something needs to be done to guarantee that the person we are going to recruit is actually up to the task. But Mr. Speaker, something again very interesting, and this is not just to indict this lady and to make her recruitment, to cast aspersions on her recruitment. But I am concerned, Mr. Speaker, that this lady was among the list of those Kenyans whose appointments were rejected by a panel that was created. Mr. Speaker, then the problem, what that has done to this lady as she comes into office is to put questions and doubts about her competence. Because if you are rejected and then finally later you are appointed, it puts some dents. And that is why I'm saying Janet Gathungu, unfortunately, she's coming to office with a lot of question marks, that she must really work hard to demonstrate that those who overlooked her were wrong, and those who have now found her fit to occupy this position are right. And she must demonstrate to Kenyans that that stone which was rejected became the cornerstone in terms of upholding accountability, transparency, and integrity in the management of public finance and resources in this country. Mr. Speaker, I'm also delighted to hear that this lady was born in Kisumu. But Mr. Speaker, we must ask ourselves questions. Really, there are questions that are being asked about appointments in this country, and that is something we cannot run away from. The President must address these doubts that Kenyans have. If you read the social media, it is scandalizing the competence of Kenyans who are even very competent when people start perceiving appointments as taking some ethnic pattern. That is something that I think the President needs to deal with. There were, I know, a number of Kenyans who also did interviews. Probably this lady was the best, but it is difficult convincing Kenyans that the best would only be found in certain regions and bearing certain names, Mr. Speaker. That is something that my President must deal with. It is something that cannot be ignored, Mr. Speaker. In fact, that is what is going to guarantee and ensure cohesion in this country. So, Madam Janet is really coming to this office with a lot of issues and question marks that she must address. Finally, Mr. Speaker, and this is again a concern that I have. Mr. Speaker, in that office of the Auditor General had some deputies, 5 of them. And the lady we are approving her appointment today was answerable to these 5 deputies. Now she's going to be the boss. Something needs to be done in terms of addressing such kind of circumstances in public service. How then would my junior, who was answerable to me yesterday, becomes my boss tomorrow? that now I start answerable to that person. I know it is a lot in politics. In fact, Honorable Mbui is whispering here that Duale is now answerable to Kimunya. But this is a totally different kind of circumstance. These are colleagues, we are in politics, and this is politics. And politics, actually, you are almost first, there is first among equals. But I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, if it is not addressed properly, and if we don't have maturity in the Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker, it is likely to affect service delivery. You have a point of order? You want to inform me? I accept, Mr. Speaker. If
now, do you want the information from 001?
Let me hear what the Masai have.
Yeah, he should not refer me as a Masai. He should refer me as honorable member of the August House. Yes. Honorable Adam Duale is not answerable to Honorable Kimunya. He's answerable to the party leader, who is His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Thank you. I've informed you.
No, actually, I was reporting. That is a very good information from my friend who is now, he keeps on reminding me he's a Masai, and he brings me mbuzi. And I thank you for that. He brings me a lot of mbuzi many times. He's the only one who has brought me a gift in this house. But that gift, Mr. Speaker, did not require disclosure, so I have not disclosed the gifts he has been bringing. And Mr. Speaker, I stand informed. Actually, that was a comment from my deputy, Robert Mbui, who thought that Honorable Duale is now answerable to Honorable Kimunya. It's only that Honorable Kimunya is now occupying position that was occupied by Honorable Duale. Mr. Speaker, those are the issues that I actually have. But the issues that I've raised is not in any way to say, I'm not trying to imply that we should reject the nomination of Janet Gathungu. I think we can give this lady opportunity to serve this country, demonstrate her competence, and I have no doubt if she has been in civil service for all these years without her character being tainted in any way, I probably think that she's likely to demonstrate some competence that will impress us, even going forward, to be looking inwards in terms of recruiting the next occupant of the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to support the motion. Thank you.
Maybe Sergeant Atams should, I can see several members, particularly lady members, I don't know, most of them are shy getting into the chamber, but they seem to think that there are enough seats. Tell them not to fear. They can come in. When I can see them, they come and stand there as if they think the house is full. There are still a number of seats where they can come to and participate in the debate. Honorable Kimunya.